me do my thing, then repeat. That's a flex. I love all my dogs. I can't do no vet. I drip all the time. I'ma leave a miss. I made up my mind. I can't shoot for less. Watch me do my thing, then repeat. That's a flex. I love all my dogs.
We back in action. Checked in. We swagged out. You know what we about.
Yeah.
We got my boy Arturo on the set.
Hey.
My boy Arthur. We got my boy Drastic King.
What's happening?
AKA Malik Nichols. We got that dude.
Pause.
Josh.
Stop it.
He is indeed that dude.
No. I'm a regular guy.
Look, he is dope.
The most interesting man
God.
in America. Mr. Dostek is USA. You know what's up, man. So we here today. I'm not trying to rhyme, by the way. We talking football, man.
For sure.
Jackson State, they did it today, man. Shout out to Coach Prime.
Yeah, I love.
SWAC champions.
Was he still in the wheelchair?
Scooter.
Yeah,
The scooter.
I believe so.
motorized vehicle.
Yeah.
After complications from that foot surgery, man.
Doing too much.
Well wishes. But they did their thing today. And they SWAC champions. So we gonna bring up a discussion earlier. We were discussing the SWAC, man, and what Jackson State can do if they continue to win. We mentioned that loss against Louisiana Monroe, I believe, early in the season where they lost, I believe, 9-7.
Yeah.
They scored the only touchdown of the game, but they lost via 3 field goals by Louisiana Monroe. But I only mention that to say Jackson State will need to go undefeated probably multiple years to move into a different conference and kind of excel to where we can be in a bigger stage and a bigger light. What Coach Prime is trying to do, as we see multiple big names and former NFL stars are taking these HBCU jobs to kind of shine a light on these athletes who don't get the light shine on them, and get recruits of those 3 stars plus to kind of come to these HBCUs. But let's talk JSU and what that win means for them today, and where you think they can go. Care to comment there, Dressed?
Yeah. Well, first, I definitely disagree with the whole notion of moving to a different conference. And the reason being is because I feel like if you could be a prominent program, you know, in whichever conference you're in, you know, especially with a coach like Deion, the type of, you know, players and recruits he's bringing in, why move somewhere else when you can just expand on that conference itself? You know what I'm saying? Bring more, you know, views, bring more awareness to the programs, to the conference itself. Keep the HBCU nucleus the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to jump into somebody else, because I think the whole plan is to bring or shed light on the SWAC itself, not necessarily say, hey, we're good enough to be amongst y'all. Like, I think, and you know, it get deeper than that, but just in that mentality itself, instead of always trying to run to where they at, let's bring the attention that they get, you know, to where we at right now. So just to speak on that, but and it ties into Deion too. I think as long as he stays the head coach, and I do believe like he really wants to be here, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily like I'm trying to show that wherever I go, I can win. But to do it in the SWAC, to do it at Jackson State, and then to also be the impact that he is amongst, as far as the program itself and the SWAC in general, you know, I feel like he can, especially you said like go undefeated for like a few seasons or whatever. Players that's coming out of high school gonna see that and say, hey, you know, I want to go play for him. You know, I want to go play in that conference because they getting the same amount of talent, they getting the same amount of shine. That's gonna bring, you know, NFL notoriety, view these players and stuff like that. Because you don't just walk in and just, you know, beat niggas with just subpar talent. Like these cats can play. They just got to get the recognition that you know, a USC or Alabama or, you know, excuse me, somebody like that would get. So, you know, that's just my whole thought on that. But I don't know.
Is there any possible they can get in that? Don't they got like D1 AA playoff system?
Yeah, like with like North Dakota State and stuff like that.
Yep.
The FCS championship.
Yep.
But
They're not even in that.
They not because it's only just the SWAC, and then
Yeah.
once they win the SWAC, whoever win that, they go to
die.
that. But FAMU was in it. They lost in the first round though.
yeah,
So how could you get the champion?
that would just have to be more so like a invitation from whoever's in charge of that to incorporate. Say whoever wins the SWAC championship or wins the conference or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And give them the invitation to be able to play a part of the playoff system. So that's how that would have to work. That would have to be something that comes from them, if I'm mistaken. But
Go ahead, Josh.
Because you got like that defense. You probably got like 3 guys can play in the league right now. Number 41.
yeah,
I want to say 45 and 40. If I'm not mistaken. Right now can play. He got more because his son, but them 3,
they ball.
they ball.
To go back to some of the points Malik made about Jackson State kind of staying in the SWAC and kind of bringing that notoriety to the SWAC. I'm a slightly disagree to that point, even though I do agree that notoriety would be big for that conference in general and kind of continue to bring that spotlight on the conference in general, not on Jackson State. But I believe that every program goal should be to get to the biggest spotlight that you can possibly get to and to put yourself on the biggest stage that you can probably get on. So let's just hypothetically say Jackson State, Deion Sanders stays 5 years minimum or maximum. And they went out 3 years in a row after this. And they get an invitation to go to a major FBS school or conference. I think it'll be foolish for them to not accept if they can get on the stage to where they can play in that championship like North Dakota that you spoke on or that different division, because I think North Dakota is in a better division than Jackson State is, if I'm not correct. Is that correct?
Cause see, I don't know what a SWAC like. Cause I know at one point it used to be you had your Division 1, then you had like your Division 1 AA, then you would go to Division 2. But I don't know as far as FCS where the SWAC falls into that, because I know North Dakota State is a part of FCS too. So I don't know how they necessarily break that up to where they don't fall in it. Because I know the way they also rank your college based on the conference you're in is the attendance level of your school, like based on the amount of people enrolled in your school. That also incorporates on whether or not you consider like a Power 5 or a Division 1 type program is based on that. So the enrollment plays a huge factor in that too. So like with Jackson State going to a different conference, they will also have to expand as a college itself to be able to to be able to bring in more students and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. So I think to the point that's great information, because to the point that I was making about Jackson State getting in a bigger spotlight, if they were to get an invitation to move to another conference, that would mean that Deion is being successful. He's getting the level of recruits and the level of attention that he deserves, and that puts that spotlight on them. Because if he continues to win, it'll be even more spotlight on him. And also, this withstand that he stays 5 years maximum or minimum, give or take. And if they were to move, that means they would generate more money, more revenue, more expansion. Because all of those things pretty much tie in together to what, the revenue they would generate. Because we've seen this year, Jackson State has reached record amounts of attendance in the Veteran Memorial Stadium in 3 Pacific games, which was homecoming game, Alcorn Jackson State game, the Capital City Classic, and probably we'll get another update after this previous game of the SWAC championship.
It won number like 50 something. 50.
Which is extremely high.
It ain't Alcorn,
and it's
though.
a reason why they chose to have the game here because they knew that we could
accommodate
the level of attendance necessary to generate that amount of revenue. So just imagine if Jackson State get an invitation to join the MEAC or one of these bottom tier schools and kids continue to stand. Like, to your point, Jackson State would still be a HBCU.
True.
Like, at its core, regardless of how far they excel, you still a HBCU. So, what do you say to like kind of that to your point, like saying like staying in a SWAC?
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I guess I would agree if we just talking specifically Jackson State. But if I'm looking at bigger picture, like it's not just about Jackson State. It's about the whole conference itself. And you don't want to take away the potential for the conference to grow just based on one. And I know, like, you know what I'm saying, as a program, you got to look out for yourself as well. But as a conference, and this is me speaking based on what Deion has said. So I'm not just saying, like, I want Jackson State not to thrive on its own, you know what I mean? Like, I do. I'm just speaking on what he said as far as that. You take away all that talent from the SWAC and say you put it in the MEAC or something like that, okay, you pretty much I won't say set back in a major way, but you do push back the SWAC a decent amount because you took away the program that was bringing shine to that conference.
Took away the spotlight.
To bring in more recruits, not just for Jackson State, but for Alcorn, for, anybody, Grambling, anybody. Like, you would want the HBCUs to get that same type of talent, that same type of notoriety, that same type of scouts to come from the NFL and view these players. Because we've seen, it's proof in the NFL itself. Like, look at the amount of players that come from these big schools and stuff like that, and then look at the amount of players. It was staggering to me that half the league is undrafted and come from these small schools, you know what I'm saying? But all we see is the big running back from Alabama or wide receiver from Oklahoma, you know what I'm saying? Some shit like that. So to me, it would be more important for them to stay in that conference to help the conference grow rather than give a team to a conference that's already got more opportunity than we have and just making them better.
I would say that it's business-wise, it's about timing. Like, if we can bring in more coaches, more big-name coaches, or just former Hall of Fame players to the SWAC, and then maybe they can probably focus on, bringing the SWAC up as a whole.
Right.
But if you can't do that before he gets Jackson State gets a invitation to go to a bigger league, then I would say take that opportunity.
For sure.
Honestly,
they've got to do what's best for you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So how long you think you should wait to do it then, if you're going to put it that way? Because right now you got Eddie George at Tennessee State. Of course, you got Deion, and I think it's another coach somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, they was reporting in another coaching hire before this season, but it could possibly come up again about Marshall Falk taking that job at Southern Baton Rouge. So it's definitely some opportunities out there, and I know these former players are also seizing that opportunity as well to kind of land those jobs.
I hope so.
And lose them as far as being on that level of these unproven Caucasian coaches kind of getting opportunities out of nowhere and not really being proven.
True. Right.
So like in the instance of Deion Sanders, he's already being mentioned in different, buzz about different hires. Mm-hmm. I know he was mentioned in the Florida State opening coaching gig.
Oklahoma.
He was Oklahoma and USC before Lincoln Riley accepted the job. And things of that nature. So it's also going to be a great opportunity for these former players who believe that they're coach worthy to kind of seize opportunities at these HBCUs as well. Yeah. So it's kind of the best of both worlds if you think about it. But let's segue here to good old SEC football today, man. And the college football playoff. It's interesting, man. I want to talk about, first and foremost, Ole Miss
Yep.
and what they've accomplished this
Hotty
season. We heard that Lane Kiffin has renewed his contract and re-upped on his contract.
True.
So to say, so he's staying home. His name has been mentioned in the Oklahoma coaching hire and some of these other big name jobs that's been kind of dangling out here. But he decided to stay at Ole Miss, Oxford, Mississippi, where he has made an impact. We know what he can do. He's a young offensive coach who has had his share of multiple opportunities over the years.
A lot.
He's still very young because he started coaching at 16. It seems like. At a very young age, Al Davis gave him a chance, and he was probably one of the youngest coaches in NFL history. And he segued that into multiple other jobs over the years.
He from the Sabres,
Sure I can't say that because he definitely coached at Alabama, but
I don't mean like I apologize. I don't mean like necessarily like Saban made him. I'm just saying I know he came from.
I don't think he originated from Saban.
Yeah, but
right.
Yeah.
I think he was
But
like
out
a
the
young
UNC.
coach on the Oakland Raiders staff.
Yeah, I remember
at that
that.
time,
Yeah.
maybe.
I remember that.
I know you probably know better than me.
He was on Oakland, but he went under Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Right. So when he very first got his very first job in Oakland, he was on that staff,
Yeah, he
correct?
was on the staff.
And he was just like a young butt, wet behind the ears. And Al Davis was like, "Hey, I like him.
Yeah.
You're the coach."
Smoke weed, talk shit, like Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I was just talking about from like the collegiate. Was he anywhere else before Saban?
Yes, absolutely.
played at-
he was
coached at
Tennessee.
No, I'm talking about. I'm saying I thought he went from Saban to Tennessee and then back to Saban.
No, sir. Because he was at USC and
'Cause I remember him at
Tennessee before
Tennessee. Okay.
being the offensive coordinator.
He went
Because he
to
took the
Saban
job after
right
Steve
outside of
Sarkisian
UNC.
Okay, yeah.
got the job.
Yeah.
I
offensive
thought.
coordinator
See,
job.
okay. I thought he had like initially like at a young like when he first started.
Yeah, no, he didn't originate
Okay.
under Saban.
And his role on the Oakland staff, I definitely don't remember. It's beyond me. Anyway, Ole Miss had one of his better seasons in quite some time. They kind of wet the bed, so to say.
True.
I mean, a one loss against Alabama, we're not going to pretty much write home about that. I don't care what Ole Miss has going on. They weren't beating Alabama.
Yeah, we were.
We could have.
Nope.
Yeah, we were.
We went forward on fourth down too many times.
Hey, let's
sir.
see that near her.
It's near there.
What's the other loss?
And-
A&M?
No,
we lost to
Auburn. We fold like clothes.
And
Yeah,
you,
damn.
Listen to me. Listen to
We
me.
fold
y'all.
up.
You can never undermine Auburn at Auburn, no matter
Nah.
who's the team.
Yeah, that's
Nobody.
facts. That's
In
facts.
Top
making
four in the
Auburn-
playoff could lose to Auburn.
No,
at any
sir.
given chance.
Look, as
Yeah.
much as I agree, I do agree Auburn is a tough place to play.
It is.
But I'm not about to sit here and make it sound like Death Valley or make it sound
It's
like
not,
the
but-
swamp.
I mean, but how?
Death Valley or the swamp. But when you go there-
you know, when you go to the swamp or something.
I would
Hey,
put it
I'm
on
asking
the
you
same
this.
I know you
atmosphere.
agree with this, right?
atmosphere.
What? That?
I
Oh
would
yeah,
put it on
it's
the
not
same
like Death
level.
Valley. No,
The
that's facts.
atmosphere is different at LSU and Florida.
But
when you
I-
go to Auburn,
But the players,
But no,
They are hitting.
Are
but
the
this is my
same.
thing with LSU. Death Valley danger true enough, but it's really more so when it's at night.
right? Death Valley after
Death,
nine.
Death Valley at night, that's a different monster.
James
Shout
didn't
out
say
to
that.
James.
That's a different
Say
monster.
that.
I'd have
Right.
seen it. You know, me being a Gator fan and watching us compete with LSU every year. Like at night, I don't care how bad. Like I don't care the record. LSU at night is different.
If we got a 2:30 slot against them, I'm feeling good.
Yeah,
Yep.
see,
A 9 o'clock, nah.
we ain't no win. we gonna choke or they gonna beat us.
I was gonna ask you like, okay, so in terms of Auburn, from a talent standpoint, how much of a gap do you think it is as a team constructed on both sides between y'all and Auburn?
Offense side be better.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, just from a talent standpoint, do you think y'all just head and shoulders above them as a team, talent wise? Like,
Yeah.
just that much better than them?
Yep.
I think Yep.
I don't.
That's
I disagree slightly, but I'm not saying like y'all tit for tat. I'm just saying that I think. Excuse me. I think from a talent standpoint, and then you factor in them being at home, like Auburn isn't trash. Auburn actually has a good team. Like as for talent, I'm not saying we can get into the debate of the well coached and all the the X's and the O's, but I'm just saying from a talent standpoint, they do have players on their team. So it ain't like, you know what I'm saying, like it is the SEC. I know people get tired of hearing that, but on any given Saturday, you can lose.
You can lose.
We agree.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt got players too.
That's what I'm saying. Go look in the NFL and see how many players from Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's
SEC
true.
got talent, like, period. So, I mean.
But I say this, when you start digging in deep into talent, that's why I start separating things, because when the talent level is equal on certain aspects, like the mid-tier teams in the SEC, I start looking at other specifics, like quarterback play, coaching. That's when those things, like to your point, talent is key. But to Ole Miss to go into Auburn and lose that football game, I agree with you. The talent levels are comparable. But when I look at the quarterback play, Matt Corral that is in the Heisman race, I expect Ole Miss to win that football game, no doubt. When all things being equal, I start looking at other things. I start looking at coaching. I start looking at quarterback play. Like, who has the better quarterback? Who has the better coach? If all things are equal on both sides of the football, it's Ole Miss.
True.
In my opinion.
True, I agree. But Lane Kiffin to me got outcoached. Two, it's not like it's Mahomes versus Jordan
he
Love.
outcoached himself, to be honest.
I would say that more so. Yeah, but it's not like it was Mahomes versus Jordan Love. Like, I totally agree. Ole Miss got the better quarterback for sure, but Auburn's quarterback ain't just poo-poo the hill. I mean, like, the man, he reminds me of a slightly more athletic Jenna Manziel, and I know, like, just slightly more. I'm not saying he was like he takes the same risk that Jenna Manziel did. If you look at his playmaking ability, same shit. I think in college, obviously, Manziel was better, but I mean, this same quarterback was kind of in the bubble of potentially being a Heisman candidate before the season started. Talked about as one of the better playmaking quarterbacks in college football. So I mean, it's not like they just had some shit at quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, I just think like Ole Miss being where they were at record wise and what they were doing, felt like they were just gonna walk in. You know what I'm saying? One of those type of games where they kind of not, I wouldn't say overlooked Auburn, but try to be too cute.
They was definitely smelling themselves.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And Auburn said, look, we are Auburn. It ain't like you playing against,
Right.
So
I would say that the way it shaped out, I truly believe that we wasn't ready for those big games. I say 1 or 2 years down the road we will be, but right now we're just not ready for those big games. We're not ready for Alabama, Georgia, or Auburn, because you playing Auburn, it's a big game, regardless.
Yes.
They can go 1-7 or whatever rate.
Facts.
It's a big game when you go see them.
Yes.
So let me
we're
add.
not ready for that
Let me
yet.
bring this back to Josh and Arthur, because we've had conversations, Josh, multiple times, me and you in Detroit, about Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. And it was very interesting. Malik, I know you'll be interested to know in our discussion, Josh, that we discussed Lane Kiffin. He's a chip off. Well, he's not a chip off the old block. His father, Monty Kiffin, is universally known as probably one of the top defensive minds in NFL history. And like kind of spearheading that cover 2 Tampa 2 defense along with Tony Dungy in those early 2000s. Right. And for his son to be an offensive genius and his father to be somewhat of a defensive genius is mind-boggling to me. And we know in the SEC that normally the teams that come out of the SEC and emerge are those who can kind of hang their hats on their defensive side of the football. And we discussed Ole Miss and its lack of defense.
Terrible.
and it's shocking to me. Like, why does Lane Kiffin's defenses not perform better? And I know on multiple occasions, and I don't know if this season, if his father is on the staff, he normally is wherever he's gone. So
he was in a consulting role.
Okay, so there's a big enough role for he pretty much telling them like, hey, y'all should be doing X, Y, and Z. Kind of like similar to Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco in the NFL type version. Like his father is probably in the background saying, hey, son, I think you should be, kind of consultant. So why is it that you think Lane Kiffin's defenses universally over the course of his career has not been up to snuff? And how do you believe that that's going to affect Ole Miss down the road? Because I expect Ole Miss to kind of win around about 9 or 10 games a year with Lane Kiffin. That's too generous. I'm gonna say about. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say 7 to 10.
You're doing too much.
I'm saying down, man. We just won 10.
Okay, this was a great year, but I still have to factor in history.
Y'all do kind of go up and down.
Like good football case. So I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say 7 to 10 wins. So, but you know that defense, Josh. So what do you believe?
The problem is we don't have no hitters. Like, don't get me wrong, we got a couple of guys that can play, but he ain't recruiting defense. Point blank. We not. If we get a defense, imagine we probably undefeated right now if we had a defense.
Oh, definitely.
Top 5, easy. We'd be undefeated. We would play Georgia. Now, I ain't going to tell you the outcome. We would have played Georgia if they had a defense. Think about last year, they was trash. They just on top of the trash can right now. So we had a defense, like, if we had that land sharp defense with that offense, we'd be undefeated.
Oh boy, the same way.
Who?
Lincoln Riley.
On the way of what?
The offense good, defense trash.
Offensive genius, and go look at Oklahoma history.
Oh, they always
but
put up
Big 12
numbers,
ain't.
But
Big 12
no. Go look at his numbers as a head coach at Oklahoma. He is historically
he was like
bad. So you say the same thing about him?
Nah, if you rank 18 as opposed to dead last in college football, nah, it's not the same.
Bro, they was like, dog, go look at where they were ranked in the past three seasons defensively.
I agree with you.
Terrible.
But the Big 12 is known for a high power offense.
You're not supposed to be one of the you're not supposed to be in the top 10, top 15 worst defenses every year.
When you watch the Big 12 play
every year,
when your offense is just that good,
right?
I get it, but come on, bro.
It's explosive. No, and if you notice, I'm not a fan of I am a fan of them, but of course I'm SEC. Yeah. But if you watch the Big 12 when they play in the bowl games, like they don't give up the same amount of points they do in the regular season.
I get that, but this is my thing, and I'm not saying that to criticize Lincoln at all. I'm definitely not doing that. I'm just saying if we say that about Lane Kiffin, like.
The difference is one. I guarantee Lincoln Riley had got a defensive player in the draft in the first round. Okay, then that's different.
Have y'all? I mean, we had. I'm not saying first round, but I mean,
Hughes Freeze had, but not.
No, I'm saying, but y'all get players to the NFL though.
Any first round picks.
I understand it, but it's hard to stick out as a first round pick in the conference in which you in.
No, it ain't. All right, if you get them.
No, I'm saying no. I'm saying it's easy for, in my opinion. It's easy for a player to dominate in a conference not necessarily known for defense than it is to be in a conference of
great defenses
where like everybody, damn near every team got five-star and first round draft picks on the defensive side.
Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you this.
So you could be a first round talent, but you may not be a necessity for the team because there's other players that can go before you that teams may need, and you may fall to like a second round.
Coach trying to move schemes.
Real quick, it's pretty It's pretty real subjective here, guys, because you kind of got to factor in it's a lot of mitigating factors into kind of like you guys' perspectives, because it's great and it's also correct, but none of you guys are wrong, because to Malik's point. Is correct that maybe like a very good to average D tackle at Ole Miss would not get drafted over a very good to average D tackle at Alabama. That's just plain and simple. But to your point, you also correct, because a very good to average DB or safety at Alabama would not get drafted over a very good to average DB at Oklahoma, because they kind of evaluate those guys different, because you're going to evaluate a ball hawk where they throw the ball all day in the Big 12.
That's not my debate, though.
12 interceptions over a guy at Alabama they got 5.
Yeah, I'm not saying because a player played at a SEC school and a player played at like Oklahoma or Texas, something like that. The player at the SEC school can get drafted first just because of where he went. I'm not saying that. Yeah, obviously, if this guy's talent is better and he's made better plays during the season, overall as what the position requires, he's outperformed X player at the highest level. I get that. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying, like, if my whole point was just comparing, I wasn't even comparing the two coaches.
Wait.
You basically saying why is we criticizing Lane Kiffin defense and
it's not even asking why.
Man's second year at Ole Miss. He just completed his second season here.
Right. And
give it time to get some.
And I say one small thing. Lincoln Riley has shown me that he's a better overall coach than Lane Kiffin so far, because to have, I mean, you can argue me back, but Lane Kiffin through his tenure in college football hasn't had a number one overall pick at quarterback. So that means Lincoln Riley has shown me that he is highly valuable as far as development of a quarterback, because he has 2 Heisman winners on his resume and 2 number one overall picks on his resume. You just can't. That's just hard to argue. I'm trying not to be biased, and I don't think I'm being biased in it, because I love Baker Mayfield. I didn't like him in college, but I love him because he played for my Browns. But that's hard to argue. And then he's been seen as an offensive whiz. I don't know. We can pretty much argue on whose offensive genius is better.
Ole Miss,
but as far as defense is concerned, that's a conference thing. Like, it'll be hard for me to say that Lincoln Riley's USC defense is going to be as bad as those Oklahoma defenses, because he's going to recruit a different style of player in that, from that state, and from like he's going to get a wealth of great players on both sides of the ball. And to that argument, like we talked about, like those 5-star programs who was kind of dip, Josh, and once you land that coach,
I don't know, man.
I know, like, USC is probably about to go back to prominence within. I expect USC to be in the college football playoff if it stays to 4. This is hypothetical say within like the next 3 years, easy.
I don't know. I would assume that he would continue to draft the players that made him successful at Oklahoma.
Cause you see, he just flipped that 5-star quarterback.
I don't think he's just gonna say, okay, I'm in a new college, a new state. Let's draft a whole bunch of good defensive players or whatever. I think he's gonna go out there a good quarterback, some great receivers.
But I mean, not even that. Malik can, like, these guys could probably attest to kind of like the level of talent that's in California is just different than the level of talent in Oklahoma. Like, once you get into like,
I mean, that was getting Texas player though, right?
He wasn't getting all his talent just from Oklahoma.
Nah, you getting Texas, you getting Louisiana.
Though, like,
he still getting the South.
Yeah, he was still hitting the South.
Just like now, he got,
and then all those schools in the Midwest that just strictly football. Yeah,
right. He's still gonna get recruited.
Texas got talent, dog. Texas one of the top 3 as far as just talent pool.
I agree with you guys there, but look,
he gonna get him.
Put Texas with this good Southern talent or good Oklahoma with this so-called good Southern talent they get from Texas.
Now, if
against one of these SEC schools, they getting blown out the water. I mean, want to know why?
The SEC school
these great players from Texas that you think they getting, they going somewhere else. Because you want to know why? You want to know why? Why? You want to know why Texas defenses, and Texas hasn't done anything over the past 5+ years, or Oklahoma defenses is routinely trash? That's because those great players in those states, they go to LSU. They go to Alabama. Am I wrong?
No,
so
you're
why they
not.
trash?
We're not gonna argue that, but it's the conference, man. Big 12 conference is not. Just
I'm not even gonna say
them guys can ball though.
It's
Them guys
I'm not even gonna say that, but yeah,
just,
like they got players now.
players,
Come on, bro.
I do agree.
Yeah, like they got some dogs over there.
I got them.
But you do make a valid point when
it's just Big 12 suck.
Yeah.
As
But-
far as defense.
I definitely agree. Like to me, Lincoln is the better mind, like offensive mind. But I guess I made the face when you said overall because I'm like, he ain't really shown me defensively. And I want to believe that when he gets at USC, he's gonna flip his whole niche of like, okay, I know over here, you know what I mean, at Oklahoma, defensively, I wasn't getting the job done. USC, you getting that type of talent, you know what I'm saying? And then you look at the conference you in, like you said, I'm with you. I don't feel like maybe Washington make a run here and there every 5-6 years, but just from a talent standpoint, is USC, and I expect them to dominate, like you said, like within the next 3.
Yeah, Oregon over there.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Oregon normally routinely does.
Stanford to pick his head up every once in a while.
Who else?
Arizona State, they not a, but they they kind of
they competitive.
Yeah, they competitive every season.
They like a bottom tier 20 to 25 ranked team in the nation.
Utah.
Utah, the UTEP.
Yeah,
They just won the Pac-12. Yes.
Right.
But I definitely, with him going over there, and then the type of coach he is and his ability to recruit, I definitely think he's gonna be able to bring that talent. But I do also believe that some coaches are just stuck in their ways, and we got proof of it. You look at and I know it's not necessarily college, but you look at a Andy Reid. Defense has never been, his strong suit per se. I know he's been in instances where his defense has done enough to win. So I give him that. But as far as like just focusing or humming in on defense, that's never been one of his things. He's so caught up in the offensive side of the ball that sometimes he may negate or kind of just lead that to the people he put in charge for that. And I'm not gonna say Lincoln is gonna continue that, but I think that's what's been his problem so far, as far as just that side of the ball. You know what I mean? So hopefully he does change it when he gets to.
He's not gonna change that, but USC gonna be in the Pac-12. Could be next year or potentially year after.
I do have a question though. Do y'all think he ran from the SEC?
Yes.
Oh,
I mean,
because I did hear that, but I don't.
I think he
I'm
did.
just saying, do y'all think so?
I think it's
he did.
I think it's like it
I
was
think it's a better
smart for him
fit.
to
It was
do.
a good fit for USC to go to USC.
Yeah.
Because
Like I mean,
that offense.
if you
Yeah,
trust
he was gonna run into a situation where
he putting up 14 a game.
I can't. When you great at something, you find a way. Like, and you able to like either dominate or compete at a high level on that side of the ball. But when you take into account you bringing your school to the SEC and then having to compete with a Nick Saban, every year, like, do you really want to do that? You know what I'm saying? Because it's tough. Because now look at all these programs that, for the most part, consistently are at the top of the game year in, year out. And you got to compete with that every year to get a chance to play. Because at Oklahoma, you ain't playing for no fucking bowl game. You playing to go to the national championship. That's the.
You still got to play Nick Saban.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no, that's the point I'm making.
One time versus playing Nick Saban and Kirby Smart same year, essentially.
I would rather have my route to where I'm not gonna say guaranteed, but I'd rather have a chance to where me as a coach, I know
see one of them one time.
Yeah, like I know I'm at the top of the conference as far as team talent, my ability to play for a national championship, as opposed to like, and I understand the whole competitive side of it, but it's bigger than just a coach's competitiveness when it comes to professional organized sports. It's a lot of shit that factors into that, you know what I'm saying? So like you gotta look at it from the standpoint of your ability to win, not just, let me take this plastic bottle and turn it into diamonds. Like that ain't always the route to go, because then you go deeper in a hole than you do succeeding when you try to do shit like that. So, you know what I mean? Like to stay at Oklahoma, if they would stay in the Big 12, your chances of being able to compete for a national championship are way better than having to fight Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Auburn, Florida, but Tennessee when they had a little
A&M.
A&M,
I still
Jimbo Fisher doing his thing over there. You know what I'm saying? Like
he gonna be successful at USC.
Yeah, I
So-
definitely
I think
agree
he
with
gonna
y'all,
be a year
man.
or two. He gonna be
I
there.
think I don't think he necessarily ran from the challenge, but he just took the overall better job. Like, if somebody came and said, hey, you can work at USC or Oklahoma, I'm going to USC. Sure. Like, it's nothing in Oklahoma. Like, what will you be doing in Oklahoma if all things are equal? You going to Texas. Like, you going to California.
Right.
Like, I mean, and even not even just that, like the prestige and the program itself, like the boosters, like everything just is overall, and that's not taking anything away from Oklahoma, because Oklahoma is definitely like one of those programs that's like a blue blood program, but
especially historically.
But it's like I tell my buddy Josh in Detroit all the time, it's levels to prestige. Like, even if you a 5-star program, it's levels to this. And Notre Dame and Michigan and Ohio State, they on a different level than Alabama. Or, you know what I'm saying, as far as prestige is go. Even though you a 5-star program, you know. I mean, I went what?
You said they more pristine than Alabama? Historically?
I'm gonna say historically, because even though in recent modern day history, Alabama
got the most titles.
Alabama does have like a ton of, like, between Paul Bryan and Nick Saban, they have a ton of championships. But I'm dating back to like beyond
when
time.
Football was invented.
Like the biggest. Like, so I mean, as great as Alabama is Auburn Alabama rivalry bigger than Ohio State Michigan? No, because those two teams just have a big. They have a longer history.
But that's not fair to use that as a comparison against Alabama when you're using two teams to compare.
I wasn't. I wasn't taking anything with, like, they are 5-star, no doubt. But I was just saying it's levels. Just like
I disagree, man.
It's superstar. I don't want to deter away from my overall point when we were previously discussing. We can get back to that. Don't worry. But it was about Lincoln Riley and the success he'll have. I think, you know, we can agree that USC is just a better overall job. You know,
it fits.
What's up?
Right. So I think it was a smart move, because I think Lincoln Riley, although he is a great football coach, it's levels to coaching. Like, Jimbo Fisher is a great coach.
Thanks.
He's a national champion, but he's not better than Nick Saban. He's not in a better situation than Kirby Smart. So he's kind of dangling in the middle of like that 10 to 15 range in the top 25 every year. They're gonna win about 8 to 10 games, be competitive, be ranked, and never go anywhere. And you'll have your anomalies throughout the years, like your LSUs with Ed Orgeron, if you got the number one overall quarterback in Joe Burrow. Yeah, sure. Or you'll kind of dangle in the middle. I can't really recall anyone in the SEC in previous years, because it's normally Alabama, and they never have a number one overall pick at quarterback.
No.
But you'll have your anomalies every so often. So I definitely think it was smart for Lincoln Riley to tag along to USC and actually have a chance to compete in the playoff, opposed to going to the SEC and being a great coach and kind of like in the middle of the pack. Because he's going to be in the middle of the pack.
He's going to be in the middle of the pack.
Every year. As good as he is, no disrespect to Lincoln Riley, he would have been middle of the pack, and I don't have any idea where Texas would be. But yeah, I want to get
top 3. They'd be top 3 behind Georgia, Florida.
Who?
Texas. I think so.
Who the head coach?
But I don't know I don't know which side of the SEC team
Didn't they divide it already?
Yeah, I think they're going to the east.
Texas going to the east and Oklahoma going to the west.
Yeah.
So that means Texas will be in the same side as Georgia.
Florida. Yeah. Kentucky.
No, wait. You said no. So they're not gonna be better than Kentucky. They're not gonna be better than
Texas?
Yeah.
No.
In the SEC? They got the right coach.
Well, not, if we basing this on the past 3 years, no.
We don't even know
because
who
for
the head coach is
some
for
odd
Texas.
reason, Bob Stoops. I mean,
Bob Stoops is
not Bob Stoops. It's the other Stoops.
Man,
no, Kentucky got Mark Stoops.
I said for Texas. Who the head coach for Texas?
Who is the head coach right now?
Is it still the young dude? What's his name? The young guy, white guy, what's his fucking name? Cause they had like a whole little special on him and shit on
Because after they fired Todd Herman,
Yeah.
I really don't know who to hire. That's a abomination
It all
on
depends on who that head
their
coach is, man.
behalf. I don't care who it is. He's not prominent.
Nah.
Because if he was, I know his name.
I know.
Trust me.
Sarkeesian. Steve.
Oh, right.
Oh wait, yeah, surely.
That's all right.
Yeah. That's not saying much. Anyway,
We seen his history.
I've
We seen
seen
his
what he
history.
can do.
Anyway,
He terrible.
Under Kentucky. We can argue that a different time, but if we base it on the past 3 years, Kentucky is normally undefeated until they get to that big boy, and they'll kind of fold against LSU. I think they beat Florida this year,
Yeah, this year.
but Kentucky has shown me that they probably on the cusp. They just need a little bit more talent to kind of compete with the big
Yeah,
dogs.
it's gonna be hard,
or
'cause-
get that elusive quarterback that just all of a sudden say, "Hey, I'm going to Kentucky," and then maybe they'll do something one year.
This is gonna be hard, man.
But until then,
Yeah,
they're
it's gonna be
gonna be
hard.
middle of the pack,
That recruiting pool is hell.
just like Texas.
Then you a basketball. You more of a basketball program than anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, just from certain mindsets, people not like, oh yeah, let me go to Kentucky to, play
Right.
football. Like it's
But let me segue into something else that we were discussing about the college football playoff. As we know, Alabama won and Georgia lost, so that's a number one ranked team for the bulk of the entire season, losing against a top 4 school, and that pretty much ensures that 2 teams are going to get in the college football playoff, because there's no earthly way that the college football committee would boot Georgia out of the
There's
top
no way.
4.
There's no
If
way.
they did, it would be unprecedented, but I think we all can kind of come to a consensus that they won't do that.
Nah,
So
nah.
that leaves another Power 5 school out of the mix. And we know that the board had met earlier about expansion and didn't come to agreement on expansion to 8 teams, I believe.
They definitely gonna do it now.
So I know for a fact that they will kind of reconvene now about that.
Yeah, they are.
Since for I think twice in the college football playoff era, this will be happening again. So that means teams like Ole Miss would be in if we were 8.
So you
That
gonna
means
have
teams
3
like-
to 4 SEC schools in the playoffs?
I think that overall, as a general consensus, I think everybody would be satisfied as long as all 5 power
Represented.
team conferences champions
Are
at
represented.
least get in.
So you gonna
I
have
agree.
No, you gonna have Utah. You gonna have
I agree
Utah
with that too.
representing.
I
it.
agree and I
I
disagree.
don't care.
No, you can't do that then.
I mean, look,
You can't
if
do that.
Utah gets
I mean,
in,
if Utah go
they just have
11
to
and 1,
prove it.
then yeah.
Yeah, but Utah didn't.
I don't-
And
I don't care.
They beat Oregon twice.
Look,
no.
I don't care if the champion from
It's Oregon
either
fault
of
for
these
choking.
conferences have 2 to 3 losses. I just believe
No.
that all because you got commissioners of these major conferences like the Pac-12, the Big East. Over the past few years, like this is gonna be the first time in the college football playoff system that the Big East made it in. You got the Pac-12 who don't stand a snowball chance. You got the ACC who don't stand a snowball chance. If Clemson don't
In hell, by the
have
way.
a great year, so you got all these power conferences, and this year we're gonna have the SEC, the Big East who barely got in, and the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten has proven to probably be the second best conference in college football.
No
so
doubt.
Definitely.
we're gonna get a team in.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
then you got these other 3 conferences who, when they all convene, you got these big wigs in a room together, and you got 3 people looking around like, "Hey,
Tell
what's
them,
going on here?
tell them
Why
step their
they
game
can't get in the
up.
playoff?"
Tell them to step their game up.
So look, I think as long as you get the Power 5 team conference champion in and 3 at-large bids, I don't care who those 3.
Nah, it's
I
not
don't
gonna
care
work
if the
that way.
3. I don't care
Not
if the
gonna be
3
that.
at-large bids are 3 SEC schools. I don't care.
Most likely
they
it
would
would
be.
be
that. It would be that.
I don't care, but I think it would solve the general consensus
won't.
problem.
No, it won't.
It would
It's
be
always
like, how
gonna be
can
a
anybody else
problem.
complain?
Well, see,
It's always gonna be some.
and I agree with both of y'all. That's my thing. I agree that the acceptance of having every conference be a part of the playoff, that would appease people. But I also agree with Josh. There will be something to complain about. Because take for instance, you say, okay, I don't care if, say, the 3 at-large bids are all SEC schools. Okay, and I agree with you. I mean, and I'm not saying it to be because I like the SEC, but I'm being honest. Like, I wouldn't care if all 3 came from the Big 12 or whatever. I wouldn't care. But I still feel like, say, if a situation like that arises, especially with a SEC conference, people are going to complain because it's the SEC, and they already have this stigma of the collegiate system favors them because of the talent pool, the notoriety of the teams, and the dominance in which all teams play with year in, year out. Because when you look at, from their standpoint, when you look at that conference and see how, like, it seemed like every other Saturday some team go down that was on top just 2 weeks ago, whereas you don't really get a whole lot of that in other conferences from, a certain standpoint. So
the number one team throughout this whole season was the SEC school.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, like, okay, cool. These teams get a chance to represent because they won their conference, whether it be the championship game or they just had the better record, whatever case may be. Then you got based on rankings and, when they take into account, your resume and shit like that. Let's say all 3 teams are SEC school. Now it's gonna be a sense of like, okay, y'all allowing too many SEC schools to be able to compete for a national championship. So it's still gonna be room to complain about.
Yeah. Come on in, brother.
And y'all can't see because I don't know nothing about it. So what if the top team, can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. What if that top team, let's just say it was an SEC school that was at that top spot? What if let's just say if it was what's the Power 5, ACC, they in the top?
Mm-hmm. They're Power
So let's
5.
just say that they had a number 1 team. What if that person, that number 1 spot, had some type of say-so in how many teams can be allowed to get in that whatever y'all talking about? So since if the SEC at the top, that means more SEC
They have
schools,
more power and more influence.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like if it was USC, what conference they in? Big 12? I don't fucking know. Pac-12. What if they was in the top spot? Then Pac-12 will have more, I guess, bids or whatever to have more people in their playoffs, so there wouldn't be an argument. Like, I don't know. That's just an idea coming from a nigga that don't watch college football.
Nah, I get what you're saying. I think it'll still fall into what I was saying. Like, and I know it comes off as I'm saying like the SEC is the better conference, but I do think problems like this problem has risen based on the SEC alone. This hasn't happened anywhere else. This have been 2 occasions SEC. And the SEC has been the root of said problem as far as we feel like the system is not fair enough to give every conference an opportunity to actually play, because if the way they doing it, it's easy to, pick unless, the other conferences far out dominate in their conference. It's easy if I got 3 teams that got 1 or 2 losses and I got an SEC school that was ranked amongst the top 2, top 3 the whole entire season, and they just so happen to lose to another team that just ranked as high as them. Well, the committee ain't finna knock them back for that, because it's an SEC team that you lost to. They were ranked just as high as you, if not higher. Sometimes it's the opposite. You could be ranked number 2 or 3 or 4, and let's say you lose to Alabama, who's a number 1. It's instances where they won't even knock you back at all because they take into account who you play for. So you'll still get a situation where you got an SEC school dominating that position. So then think about it. Like, now I'm giving the SEC more opportunity. And I'm not saying this will happen, but this is what people will say. You giving the SEC more opportunity to bring their conference into the national picture and get more opportunity.
Honestly,
because
they should.
If you think about it too, it's from a financial standpoint.
It's gonna happen. That's why
when you play for these bowl games, when you play for the national championship, stuff like that, that is an incentive to your conference as well. When these teams win like national championships, when they win these bowl games, when they win, out of the big games and stuff like that, they get money sent back to not only their program but to the conference too. So you gotta look at it from that standpoint. Like, each conference's job or goal is not only to compete at a high level,
but to maintain a conference
and to be lucrative while doing it.
But
so,
I think y'all guys make a valid point, especially you, Malik, about the SEC and its dominance. But I think you guys are kind of overthinking it because, I think that as long as the Power 5 conferences get a team in, that alleviates the beef pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely agree that, like, for the sake of argument, if 3 SEC teams, let's just hypothetically say that 3 SEC teams did get all the at-large bids, I think that would probably kind of feed more into your point. But if you kind of look at college football in a bigger perspective, kind of think back to, like, when Boise was going undefeated. If we was at 8 teams, Boise would have been had a shot to kind of compete, but they never did.
You know why?
They
choke against Arvada.
Right, but I mean, that was just that one instance. But they
the
had
problem.
years before that.
That's the
they
issue.
were going undefeated, but never could go as high as 6 or 5.
They didn't because but
in the old
this is the
BCS
issue.
system.
This is the issue.
That's true.
And we not telling. Teams are choking. The point blank period. Oregon had led their destiny. They lost to Stanford. They still gave them a chance. They turned around and lost to Utah. Then turned around and lost to them again. No, that's the problem. A lot of teams are choking.
But you was still with the 18 playoff, even if the ACC. I think the ACC championship game is against Pittsburgh.
They were Pitt and Wake Forest.
Yeah.
But,
Both of them.
but as long as you get one of those teams in, at least the commissioner of the ACC cannot
you know
say
Let me ask you something, Haywood.
Their rankings is
with that.
one of
Yeah,
them.
let me-
15th and
And
112.
You just-
that's too low.
But in the 18 playoff,
They would
at
not
least-
be in. You would have Baylor, you had Notre Dame, you had Cincy, you had Ole Miss, you would have Alabama. They would not
Josh,
get in.
I'm saying, like, I'm hypothetically speaking on, like, if we went to 8 teams, not saying that they would pick the 8 best teams in college. I'm speaking on as if they would give all 5 power teams.
You talking like how the NFL do.
a bid.
So you want like the
and
NFL?
3 at-large teams.
So you want like the NFL?
Well, like
I'm thinking.
Even the basketball side, like that's how they do it pretty much.
Because I
Which
mean,
one? Is March Madness?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you pretty much win your conference championship,
Yeah.
because right, you
win.
like Mark Madden,
But-
like in college basketball, you would automatically get in the tournament.
That's what I'm
period,
saying.
as long as you won your.
It's like
the
36
SWAC.
teams.
Like at the SWAC, like if you win the SWAC championship in college,
I'm just saying, like,
you
that's
automatically
what he's
get in
saying,
the
that-
national NCAA tournament just because you won your conference
I
championship.
feel you on that, but typically who wins it's supposed to be the best team, right?
So Josh,
A lot of
let's
people fold
hypothetically
like clothes.
say-
No.
let's hypothetically say if you're correct, in the 18 playoff turns into the 8 best teams, we can end up with 8 SEC teams or something like,
what you gonna have?
or
you gonna
6
have,
or 5.
You gonna have.
No,
like,
you can have a
like
bunch
this
of
year right
SEC
now,
and a
you
bunch
gonna
of big
have
teams.
you gonna have a bunch of You
But
gonna have,
it wouldn't happen.
but no.
Why
Okay,
it wouldn't? So you telling me Ohio
no.
State shouldn't be in it?
No.
No, I'm
He's saying if you win your conference championship as a Power 5 school, and then you factor in everything too, like your rank and stuff like that. Because normally if you
if you win your conference championship, you're gonna be in the top 25.
Right. So what he's saying is give them a chance to actually play in
the tournament.
But this is what I'm saying. So if you
And then
So
rank
you
them.
gonna hold on. You gonna say a team that's we just said the ACC had Pittsburgh who's ranked I think 12 and Wake Forest is 15.
Right.
So you should put them in the top 8.
19.
Yes, automatically. Like Josh, let's say for the sake of argument, if one of those conference championship winners have to go against a bottom tier SEC school like Ole Miss, like let's say if we factor in the 18 playoff right now, I think the 3 at-large bids would probably be Notre Dame, maybe Ole Miss, and maybe Ohio State. Let's just hypothetically say that. Like which all have like about 2 losses. Or in this case, Notre Dame has 1 loss.
I would
so they
throw-
will automatically be like, what was that? What would be the bottom 5? They'd be the 6th seed.
you could throw what's calling it too, Baylor.
Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah, maybe.
did Baylor win?
Yeah, they won.
So if they won a championship, they will automatically be in the top 5.
sure.
So I don't have to factor
Okay, yeah,
Baylor.
yeah.
So
Well,
let's just
I
say
mean,
all
what's it
Power
called?
5
Oklahoma State.
teams won, and your 3 at-large bids are Ole Miss, Ohio State, and probably Notre Dame, because Notre Dame probably has the best record out of all those teams, and they probably deserve to be in anyway. So in that case, I wouldn't see anywhere that anybody could complain, because Ole Miss could go against maybe in the first round, maybe Michigan or however if they were seeded 2 versus 7. Y'all would have your opportunity to say, like, hey, at least y'all in, and y'all would have the opportunity to play.
Now you're gonna have Oklahoma State mad.
Right, here's the thing though.
I mean, let's just say Oklahoma State lost.
But they played in the Big 12 though.
But I mean,
But they lost their championship. They
played in the
But once
championship
you
though.
get
Here's
into
the thing, though.
arguments,
So
once
you
you get
gonna
into
have
Georgia
arguments,
just
bro,
lost though.
who?
Then Georgia just lost.
So they'll be automatically kicked. They'll be automatically kicked down to 5, 6.
Right. Okay.
And then so
I
who
see.
would?
See what I'm saying? Now you're gonna have another argument.
But once you get into the arguments of the 2 lost teams, you really can't argue. Like, that's really getting dicey. Like, if you got 2 losses, you shouldn't have an argument about nothing.
You're right.
Really.
Should be
So you're gonna
subjective.
have Georgia saying they should still be playing. You're gonna have
but in this case, Georgia would probably definitely still be playing. They would probably be 7. Notre Dame would definitely stick in that 6th spot because they have that unblemished record other than Cincinnati.
So it would be.
So it'll be.
Who was BYU? What conference they in?
they are the.
I mean, here's the list right here now. So Georgia's got
they in the
kicked out. So you got to find the next best conference winner.
If we go based on this, Ole Miss would be in.
Ole Miss won't be in because Georgia will take their spot because they're not the SEC champion.
But they just lost today.
who?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Right,
Okay.
so Baylor is going.
So let's just say the top 5 is Alabama, Michigan, who is the big team,
Cincinnati, and then it'll have to be Baylor.
It'll be the winner of the ACC, the winner of the Pac-12 would be in,
So
which was
Utah.
Baylor,
Utah,
and then you have the winner of the Big East who's in, which is Cincinnati. Those are the top 5. So based on this ranking, the at-large bids will be Georgia, Notre Dame,
and Ohio State.
So, but once you get down to those bottom 3, you're subjective to things like strength of schedule. Right. You're subjective to things like who you lost to. Like, that's when things get dicey. So then you can easily definitively say, like, who's the better team in there. Like, I would say Ole Miss, or like, who Ole Miss lose to? A&M and Alabama. I wouldn't be Alabama. I wouldn't be upset if Ole Miss got that bid over Ohio State. Like, and that's when you start getting dicey. Like, I would definitely make sure that Georgia and Notre Dame gets those 2 spots. But then once you get to that 8th spot, then you can get the arguing about strength of schedule and bringing in those other like 3rd level.
You gonna have?
It just sounds like too much going on.
But you can't,
because like look at who's Utah. Like somebody got to go play Utah, right?
Right.
I mean that's a blowout.
But hey, that's on them. Like if Utah draws Notre Dame or Georgia in the first round,
you now getting to the point that the bowl, you gonna make a major bowl game turn into a blowout. Like it's not gonna be fun no more.
Yeah, this my thing, and this what I've been trying to say.
They wouldn't. I think Josh kind of like before you go Malik. I think they wouldn't make it. They would definitely probably make it a bowl game, but they wouldn't make it like one of those major bowls.
Why would you not? It's the playoffs. So you telling me they wouldn't make that the Rose Bowl?
55-10.
I think they would probably find a way to match it up, but I don't think they would make. I think they would make it like the major bowl.
If you did
when you get to the top 4,
the top 5, that's what I'm saying. So if Utah, basically Utah be in right now. So you telling me that if Utah play Ohio State in a Rose Bowl playoffs, what's the score gonna be?
Shit.
But they would do it 4 or 5. So Utah would probably play, for the sake of argument, a Cincinnati.
Are you
probably stay in the 4th spot?
But this my whole this my whole thing.
Can you call that? Can you call that right now?
Do you really want to see that? So you want to see that as a Rose Bowl?
That wouldn't be the Rose Bowl because they would automatically kind of find a way.
That's a Music City Bowl at best.
Either they would make those,
hey, bro, no.
Like, for the sake of argument, they would make like 1-8, 2-7,
right.
3-6. Like, I think they would make those a lower. But depending on the matchup, they would give the bowl its name according to who they playing. But then once you get to the final 4 teams after their first round, they would probably make it a bigger bowl. Depending on who's left.
To
I
be
think they would
real,
have to find a creative way to do that. But I don't think they would make some kind of crazy big bowl between two slow teams.
They'll probably.
I hope they wouldn't.
They'll probably either what they'll do is those games that get played when you seed it like 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. They probably wouldn't even necessarily be bowl games. They'll probably still get those lower bowl games or bowl games kind of closer.
Yeah, they'll call it something, but they wouldn't make it the major name.
Yeah, but I'm saying they'll keep
the
it.
bowl's gonna start losing money.
No, but no.
But they'll still keep the bowls in place by when you get to that Final Four, like they do.
That's what I was going to say. Like they wouldn't change the Final Four as far as the bowl games, like the pristine ones. But I'm saying like the matchups between 1 and 8 wouldn't necessarily be bowl games. They'll be just more so a play-in tournament.
Right,
itself.
or something like that.
And all the other bowl games will stay where they are. So if you got 6 wins or better, you're a bowl eligible. You know what I'm saying?
Not Josh.
But before I want to say this too. Like, my whole thing about the expansion is this: you're pretty much saying because I can't dunk on a 10-feet goal, I want you to lower it to 9 or 8. I disagree with that, and the reason being is because. For one, I low key had a problem when they switched to this whole playoff system originally before it was, and
1 and 2.
Yeah, they got tired of saying SEC versus Big Ten,
and it's because
SEC versus SEC.
Yeah, and it's always the SEC.
LSU Bama. When they made it, I said that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Guess what happened? It's still happening.
It's still happening. Like you can't deny
You
can't deny certain things from happening. It's just gonna pan out that way because of how things are. But I just don't agree with pacifying like conferences and teams just because you didn't make it a chance to play for a national championship. Like you gotta be real too, man. Like it's about like I get it. You come from a smaller school or you a school that don't get that opportunity every time because you always on the outside looking in. Say like a Boise State or some shit like that. Hey man, listen, life ain't fair. Like listen, the whole I can't
exactly step your game
either
up.
leave that conference and go somewhere where you compete. Compete with better. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna toss it right back to you so you can continue. So, and that's why I keep arguing for this 18 playoff because I still feel like all things will be solved. Like let's hypothetically say. If the 18 playoff does stick by or does go by the all 5 power teams get their conference champion in a year to where Boise State runs the table, they would get an at-large bid probably more so than over a 2-loss SEC school or something like that. Like there will be an opportunity for one of these bottom tier teams to actually make their case because in normal years they will never elope over 6 or 5
because they're not consistent. That's right, why.
But in the 18 playoff, you would give an undefeated Power 5 school or a major FBS school.
So do you think Cincinnati gonna be consistent where they at now?
No,
but they're in the Power 5 conference.
Yeah, but
that's
okay.
Not I ask you. Do you think Cincinnati from 3 years from now? Do you think they'll be still even close to the same level, or they gonna fall off?
They gonna flatline after this.
Hey, let's just say Cincinnati falls off a bit after this. I think if they are 1 or 2 loss teams and they win the Big East again next year, they should still have the opportunity to compete for the national championship.
Man, I've seen Cincinnati this peak before, and then they fall right off a cliff, and you know what I'm saying, like so. But I mean, like even still, like you're to me personally, you're just prolonging the final outcome where you gon' because let's be real. Like if you do get a team that because they won their conference, they fall in that number 4 or 5 spot, and let's just say they eventually had to play, or let's just say I'm not speaking on the exact rankings of this year. I'm just gonna throw a hypothetical out there. Let's just say we got I don't know. We'll just take Cincinnati. Just say we got Cincinnati number 2 seed, and we'll say somehow Ohio State gets number 7. And they only had like 1 loss or 2 losses, and because
Ohio
the
State
season
is in the second round of playoffs,
and now you pretty much you pretty much prolonged what Ohio State was capable of doing anyway, which is competing for a national championship. So why am I prolonging
the inevitable?
Yeah, the inevitable. Like, why am I doing this? Like, nobody's gonna sit here and root for
money.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen. And I get it. I get the whole lucrative part of it. Like, and I was gonna say that earlier. Like, if I'm a fan of a small school, or if I'm one of those college football fans where I'm tired of seeing the same pristine, schools win year in, year out. Mm-hmm. Man, listen, people say they want that shit. They don't want that shit. They want to see Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, like all these big time schools duke it out every fucking year. I want to see NFL talent compete every year. I do not want to see fucking Wake Forest playing goddamn Notre Dame just to see them lose 65-3. Like, I don't want to see it. I'm not finna waste my time. I'm turning it off after the first quarter, bro.
I absolutely positively agree with everything you just said 100%.
It sounds good by doing that championship Power 5 miss. And to start having me be like, oh man,
why are we doing it? 5 years from now, they gonna knock that shit back to 3 teams.
And they gonna turn around and say,
and one seed ain't gonna play at all, and the winner between 2 and 3 gonna play number 1. That's how it's gonna end up.
But look, I have no disagreements.
You're not gonna see that, man.
I'm not gonna say I don't want to see it, because at the end of the day, I want to see great college football. So if you,
I know you want to see Ohio State in that motherfucker every year, and I would hate to see
me that Cincinnati, who's been fighting so long to get recognized, end up as the 2 spot, hypothetically to your point, and they go up against a 2-loss Ohio State this year. I would love to see that game.
Yeah,
because even though,
but I wasn't basing it.
I wasn't necessarily going to the. I mean, yeah, right. But I wasn't necessarily going to the game thinking either or, because even though you know the inevitable is happening. I would say that if I could go into a situation and say I scratched everybody back and I still came out with the same result and nobody has anything to say to me, I'm happy, because I can go devil advocate and put your team in that exact same situation. I could say if Ole Miss feels like they've had a great year and they squeak into that A spot and have to go against a Michigan in the first round, 8 versus 1. You'll take that. Yeah. And you'll say, let the chips fall where they may.
Exactly.
And if Ole Miss beats Michigan, that's on Michigan.
That's on Michigan.
As a fan, I'm disappointed in Michigan. And as an Ole Miss fan, I'm happy as hell.
I'm happy.
And then guess what? The better team won that day, and that's an indictment on the Big Ten champion. I ain't going into the game saying, oh man, this system is effed up, because guess what? I've already scratched everybody back. Everybody's Power 5 conferences got in.
That game is good. Look, but then you turn around and say, hey, so do you want to see Notre Dame play Alabama?
I mean, I would watch.
I would watch that. But I know what's going to happen.
But Josh, as you continue to progress throughout the tournament, it gets better and better, because let's go back to if Ole Miss beats the Big Ten champion if they was at the A spot. Then Ole Miss gets to go against somebody else in the next round.
Another SEC school.
Right. But it's gonna be a hey, winner takes all, because we know, even though Ole Miss defense is a little suspect, they could possibly win their game. Right. If it's like if you playing with extra motivation, it's for a title. So I feel like,
for sure,
I'm gonna let y'all elaborate. I feel like as long as you scratch everybody's back, you still have to let the chips fall where they may.
That's true.
And then also those teams who never got their opportunity,
gave them a chance.
Would you still giving them a chance? So I think everybody bats get scratched, and at the end of the day, the best team will end up winning. At the end of the day, whether it's where will Alabama go after this? Probably 1 or probably 3. I don't care. As long as all the best teams make it in, and you get the 5 best Power 5 teams, like you can't argue at any corner. Like I think the 8 team would probably be it. Like hey, everybody gets in. If 3 SEC schools, if it's 2 Big Ten schools and 1 SEC school at the at-large basis, I don't care who it is. If they get in, they earn the right to be there, and they give themselves a chance to compete for a national championship. I'm pretty sure you would like Ole Miss right now to have the opportunity to compete for a national championship, and they have 2 losses. Like I mean,
they keep folding.
But I'm
pretty sure you would like their chances against a Pac-12 champion or against a Big Ten champion but I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, Big Ten is on a different level, but you would still like your chances coming from the
you like
conference
your
you come
chances,
from.
but they choke. Stop choking.
Yeah, I
Point
don't,
blank period. Stop choking.
I don't know, man. I still feel like, you know, at the end of the day, like sometimes you do get in a situation where, you know, more times than not, the better team is supposed to win. Like, and I also get that you got like instances where, say to me, a Ole Miss versus, you know, say like who did y'all name? Ole Miss versus who?
Like let's say like if Ole Miss went against Michigan, like if Ole Miss was in 8 and had to go against Michigan,
okay,
I
so
would be dying to watch.
Yeah, like that. That's those are one of those matchups. So like that's why, and even though I was talking shit about it, like I didn't necessarily disagree with your notion of allowing, like, if you win your conference championship, the ability to play. I guess I'm speaking from a space of it's a waste of time to me, and I ain't trying to be funny. Like I just feel like. I truly feel like at what point, like you mentioned scratching everybody's back, but I feel like at what point do you stop scratching people's back? Because you've been doing this since college football started. Like there's always been different systems, like where, you know what I'm saying, where, you know, when it originally started, like hell, it was the same 3-4 teams, you know, that was only capable of even playing for a national championship, and everybody else was just playing college football at that point. You know what I'm saying? And then you got when you come in with the BCS system and shit like that, and, you know, this computer saying, well, based on your strength of schedule, based on who you played, who you lost to, you know, how many wins you got, you know, did you play in the conference championship, you know, all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, this is how we rank you. Well, everybody had a problem with that. Let's scratch their back again. Guess what, y'all? We finna open up this 4-team playoff system. That way, we give almost all the conference champions, all the conference champions, or, you know, people that are ranked high, you know, a chance to compete for a championship. People still complain. Well, guess what? Now, if we open up to this 18, history, and I get it. In a perfect world, that should be it. Hey, here go y'all 8, 1 through 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. Y'all duke it out. All this talk about who better. Go ahead. I just still feel like it's a waste of time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just because the better teams, especially like if you get each conference at that apex as far as like who represents that team for the you know, for their conference. Those are typically your better teams, like your SEC, your Big Ten. You could throw the Big 12 in there. You know what I'm saying? If the Pac-10 on their shit, you throw them in there. Like, so you're going to still have like the cream of the crop. And I feel like,
look, to your point, if I do agree, but I think it would be so great because, like,
because it's too many.
Because I think even though we kind of dumbing it down to like, if we hypothetically thinking that the SEC would have the jump on those 3 at-large bids if it kind of goes into how we think. But I don't think that's the case.
I wouldn't say that.
Because like to your old system, that BCS system is flawed because
it is.
It pretty much determines like it preseason ranking is probably going to determine where you're going to end up. Because if I start in a preseason number 1 and I don't lose, I'm going to play for the national championship. Like, it's nothing anybody else can do.
Yeah.
You know, to jump in the
Why you rank number 1 in the preseason?
Because something you did the previous year.
And what else?
But if the top
what else?
And like I
got recruits.
They do factor in, say, if the top 3 teams are undefeated, they still will factor, say if the number 1 team, when they factor like strength of skills or all that kind of stuff, I have seen instances where like they'll fall a slot below based on like, well, the other team had better wins, more dominant wins, played in a stronger conference, they beat more ranked teams. So just because you go undefeated starting off at a certain rank don't mean you're going to necessarily stay there at the end. Like, it depends on who you are. Like, if an Alabama go undefeated, hell yeah, they ain't moving. Like,
nah, ain't moving.
You know what I'm saying? But and this is really just far left field, but let's just say, for instance, a Boise State was number 1 for whatever odd reason, and then you got an Ohio State and a fucking Oregon. 9 times out of 10, Boise State, because of who Ohio State and Oregon had to play to stay undefeated, because 9 times out of 10, they had to play way more ranked teams. Boise State probably ain't going to see one ranked team unless the first game of the season they play. So you know what I'm saying? Like
the old system.
Yeah, and I agree, it's flawed. No, and I'm definitely not disagreeing with that. And I'm really not even disagreeing with your whole 18 thing. I just think that because I think you still got to take into account too. What are you gonna say about the teams that's ranked that play in the smaller conferences that still technically have a chance to compete for a national championship, went undefeated, but they not in a big conference like a MEAC or something like that? You gonna deny them a chance to play just because of
But they wouldn't be denied.
So I'm saying okay,
because you said on the top 5.
Yeah, because you got
your Power 5 team. Because you,
but
you got one.
But if we go back to that Pacific year,
that's undefeated. What's that? UTSA, whatever that team. They undefeated. They was like one of the only ones that's undefeated. What's the name? I can't think of the name of the team.
Hey, John, you got
for who now?
It's a team that's ranked that's undefeated. I opened that one. But it's a team that's undefeated in college football. And I think they was only ranked the highest like 21.
They are an FBS school.
Yeah, they I don't know what conference they in. It's like UT something.
But
look it up for me.
But based on that argument,
something like that.
Ain't the Sun Belt a FBS school? So I mean, if I go in the field,
right. But let me go back because, and if we had the 18 playoff, notwithstanding the year Boise lost to Nevada, Colin Kaepernick led. Right. Might I be exact. So I ain't gonna beat him up too much, but it was the field goal kicker for Boise who kind of blew 3 game winners. But notwithstanding, years before that, Boise was always kind of undefeated. They was always undefeated.
Man, you just had a conversation about Boise State all the time.
Right. And they always got no higher than 5 or a 6. So, and if it was an 18 playoff, let's just say for the sake of argument, in those years, easily Boise State makes the college football playoff. But like in those instances, those teams like that, and I think they were in the WAC. They were in the Western Athletic Conference.
And
ain't nobody undefeated.
That team was lost then.
Right, so they end up losing.
San Diego
State, maybe. But but to that point, I believe that Boise probably would have made the college football playoff because it would have been no argument on them getting one of those at-large bids. So again, that 18 playoff satisfy all these. Like even for Notre Dame,
but
Notre Dame has 1 loss, and it was just to undefeated Cincinnati in the Big East champion. Like right now, Notre Dame's not getting in.
Yeah, for sure.
Want to know why? Because Georgia lost.
Yeah.
If Georgia didn't lose, Notre Dame was in.
Yeah.
Easy. But now we have a problem here. And Notre Dame is not getting in. So I don't care what angle y'all try to attack me from.
But I mean,
it needs to be 8.
Okay, and I'm not disagreeing.
Regardless if they make the Power 5 conferences all get a bid or $300 bid, or they go the route of just saying, hey, we want the 8 best teams in college football. I don't care what conference.
Oh no.
Either way.
Oh no.
Either way, I believe because even on championship Saturday, people who play for a championship and when nobody else is playing automatically gets a leg up in the eyes of the committee, because committee factors in those variables like conference championships. They factor in those things. They get to that first as their criteria, and then they go to strength of schedule. Yeah. Then they go to win, loss, and then all those other variables.
Right.
So
we're gonna give the last thought here to Malik. Do you want it, or you want to give it to Josh?
What?
The last thought.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, you just keep it the way it is as far as the playoff system. I mean, it's unfortunate that certain teams get overlooked because of certain circumstances, but sometimes things fall where they may. Like, and I'm not going to get too deep. I know we're wrapping up. I just want to say like a Notre Dame. How many losses did Notre Dame had this year?
1.
Exactly. How many losses Georgia had this year?
1.
I can't boost one team and negate another based on where they, ranked it. So it still wouldn't be fair to a Georgia who was number 1 all year and then to say, hey, well, you lost in the conference championship to Alabama. And
that's why you go to 8. Because you're going to alleviate that.
We're going to wrap this up, man.
Yeah, listen, man. We definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in to tonight's podcast. If you have any comments or questions or concerns as far as what we spoke about, If you disagree with anything or you agree, please leave a comment. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Shout out to my boy Tapped In Reviews, aka Jones It. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my boy Pimp Daddy Corn over there, leaning in the chair, chilling like a villain. Shout out to the whole panel. If everybody want to go around real quick and give out, their social media handles, so you know what I'm saying, y'all can.
J Will 60, Instagram.
What?
J Will 60.
That nigga said his.
J Will 60.
Nigga said his social security number.
Most deaf, man. Follow the kid Haywood, man. Timothy Haywood, just how it sounds on Facebook, man. Suave _ Majiko. That's smooth magic in Spanish for y'all who don't know. Hit the kid up on Instagram, man. Snapchat as well. So you know how we kicking it, man. The sports aficionado. That's my role. You know where we go.
Oh man, hey, IG is at UTHOR _ also
Before or behind?
_ at behind.
Like in the front or the back?
The bottom.
I'm saying though, is it in front of Uther or is it behind it? Because he ain't like is it at _
No, brother.
Or is it at
listen to
Uther?
me. Listen to me, brother. Is at.
And why the hell is it
UTHOR?
Uther?
I mean,
What
because
the
the
fuck is the A?
The at sign is the A, bro.
Yeah.
Man, see,
Yo.
Oh, that shit.
Hey, hey, Arthur. The boys be just, you know what I'm saying? That shit just go over niggas' head, bro.
hey,
I understand.
brother, come on, y'all, get your life together.
Hey, it would have been a better wordplay if you would have said Arthur with the at sound or something. Like, and not at Uther. What the hell? Don't worry, man. We're going to work on the wordplay, man. But that's all we got for tonight, man. We swagged out.
Yeah, let me shout out my, you know what I'm saying? Follow me at King, well, not at King Drastic, but you can look me up on Instagram, King Drastic, or at Drastic Diesel. That's also my panhandle for Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook or, send a request, Malik Drastic Nichols. And yeah.
We out.
We got this thing, man. Go SEC.